So, starting on the 372 build. If I look a little dirty, that's because I just took this thing outside, ran the compressor line out there, and blew out as much of the crap as I could. I'm going to do that multiple times through this process, and really that's just to take the opportunity while I have it to clean the saw up as I take it apart further and further, and to try and keep any of the junk, the dirt, the wood dust, sawdust, and fines from getting inside of the motor where we really don't want them. So right now I'm going to tear this thing down to a certain point, and then I'm going to take the time to set up my timing wheel. And I'm curious because this is, I know this is not an original cylinder on this saw. I forget which brand it is, but there's markings on it. And I'm gonna time it and see where it's at, because this is a fairly strong running saw as well. Not quite as strong as the other one, the ported saw, but it's pretty strong. So I'd like to time it, see where the numbers are at. Plus it's just good practice for me, and I need to set up that timing wheel at some point anyway. So probably just going to do a time lapse of tearing it down. It's nothing special, but I'll definitely stop and talk about it if anything exciting comes up in that. So this is interesting. I could have sworn that I took this top cover off at one point and saw that this was an aftermarket cylinder. I just took the top cover off again, and I can see very clearly that it is a Molly cylinder, which is that's OEM. So not sure where I got the idea that this was an aftermarket cylinder, but it doesn't really make any difference. I'm not going to ruin the cylinder. I'm just taking it off and putting a new one on. So continuing on with that process. So it is probably a good thing that I ordered that other tank. This guy is pretty broken. Again, I'll probably play around with Danny's plastic welder and see if we can repair that, but as it sits, that's not great. So glad I ordered that other tank. Yeah, so far that's the surprise. I'll update you later. so I got my timing wheel here. I've cobbled together a bit of a adapter. I realized that I probably didn't need to take off the flywheel. That's alright, it wasn't that big a deal. Now I just have to punch the hole out of the center of my timing wheel, slightly larger to fit over my adapter. And I think I got a drill bit right here somewhere. Anyway, the point being, once I get this timing wheel set up, obviously this is still the original cylinder on here, and I'm just curious to see what the timing numbers are on this saw. And of course I'm not going to be able to get all of them with the intake boot still on and all that stuff, but the number that I can get is the exhaust opening number, and we're going to measure that. So we'll zero the timing wheel and then get where the exhaust port opens after top dead center. I'm expecting that number to be 103 or north of 103 degrees. If you're not familiar with the degrees of a timing wheel and stuff like that, check out Tin Man's channel. He's got a whole series about porting a saw and port timing, and he's got this cool cutaway saw that makes it really easy to see the relationship of all that stuff. And honestly, between him and Iron Horse, that's where I learned how to do all of this, I think. So I'm gonna drill this out, and then I'll bring you guys back when I've got the timing wheel on. So I've got my timing wheel installed. Is it perfect? No, absolutely not. Will it work? Probably. I'm going to put a pointer on. I'm going to try using a piece of plumber's tape. Should work pretty good. I'm just going to bolt it on right here where the top cover bolts on, and pull a spark plug and see if I can figure out the timing on this saw. Yeah, let's see how that goes. Trying to figure out something I can set this saw on so that I can orient it to the camera, The whole purpose of all this is just to kind of get a baseline, because I know how this saw ran. I enjoyed how this saw ran, but it'll give me some sort of an idea of what I want to do with it moving forward. That's all we're doing here. Nothing fancy. Yeah, so it's probably about time for me to be done for the night. It's like, I think it's about 9:30 at night right now. I've been going pretty steady all day doing all kinds of other stuff, so just want to get a baseline, and I'm going to check it several more times before I actually take the cylinder all the way off. But I wanted to get a baseline and kind of give me an idea if I'm going to have to grind a lot or not a whole lot. So I got a piston stop here, and ooh, is that because there we go. For a second I thought I had the wrong piston stop. It was just because the piston was in the way. So the idea with the piston stop is that it gives us a repeatable reference there. And I can tell you right now, I'm not super happy with the plumber's tape. Maybe if I bend it around a bit. So I want it to have a sort of a pointer. A lot of people use some sort of wire. I thought this would be really cool. Let me mess with it here for a second and see if I can get it to do what I want it to do. Yeah. Okay, that kind of sort of works the way I want it to. Okay, so the piston stop is going to help us find top dead center, because if you roll the engine over one direction and go up against the piston stop nice and gently, and then roll it back over the other direction, then if your pointer reaches the same, say I'm at 45 right now, and we roll it back around the other direction and hit 45, then it's going to be zeroed, as in 0 is going to equal top dead center. Now, again, this is the first time I've ever done this, so it might take me a minute to kind of get my bearings. Yeah, okay, so that should be zeroed. Now, if I take this guy back out and go up to top dead center. Where's that? I might have done it backwards. Might have gone to bottom dead center. I did. 100% did. Okay, but that's fine. That just means the top dead center is going to be our bottom dead center is going to be our top dead center, basically. And we can kind of just roughly verify that, because move one direction, it'll go down. One direction down, and there's kind of a dead spot in between. So perfect. We've got it zeroed. Now the concept is simple. We roll it. This is really awkward. Okay, that'll work. We roll the engine over in the direction of travel, so the same way your chain would go. We stick this a source of light into the spark plug hole and roll this thing over, being careful not to throw off our timing wheel, which I should just spin it by the flywheel. And then what we're looking for is through the exhaust port, we want to see our first ray of light peeking through. There it is. So it looks like our number is right on 100. Now, I'm going to check that several more times because that doesn't seem quite right to me. I don't think that this cylinder has been ported. I would expect a little bigger number there. But maybe somebody has been into this one, and maybe that's why it's so enjoyable to run. Or we just got lucky and got one with the right numbers. Again, I'm not gonna ruin this cylinder by taking it off and swapping it out for a big bore kit. I'm definitely gonna save this cylinder because it's another good 372 cylinder. But yeah, we'll check the numbers again several times before we take this thing off, and go from there.